Today's episode is the second yoga story, and today's pose is Hanumanasana. Welcome to episode 2.
There's our blanket. Excellent.
Asymmetrical twist. Dropping and sinking up.
Notice how
So just notice. Joining us for the second episode next week. Namaste. Hello. And welcome to episode 81 of Namaste Yoga. Today we continue our series of classes on the yoga stories where we take one pose a class and work on it and look at the mythological stories behind them. Today's class is on Hanumanasana, the monkey deity, the demigod monkey deity, and we're going to be working with the pose Hanumanasana. So if you know what the asana my intention for today was to bring joy to my day and to bring in the spirit of Hanumanasana. And Hanumanasana is kind of like a trickster, and he likes to joke and have fun. So we're bringing in the joy of Hanumanasana. So if you know what Hanumanasana is, then you'll have an idea of what we're working towards. If not, I think I'm going to leave it to the end, and you'll see what we're coming up to. I would like to dedicate this class to my friend and colleague, Jen Munier. She is the assistant director at Phoenix Rising Yoga Therapy, and it was Jen Munier who introduced me not only to Hanumanasana, but also to the idea of working with Hindu deities in our yoga classes. And so she, in fact, inspired that first series of classes that we did on all the Hindu deities, and she continues to inspire my teaching through a class that I took with her at the Phoenix Rising Yoga Therapy Training Center in Bristol, Vermont. So this class is dedicated to you, Jen, and I just hope that I can bring an ounce of the inspiration and love and devotion that you have for Hanumanasana in my own teaching. I also wanted to let you know that I'm using a number of resources for this series of classes. One that I'm using is Myths of the Asanas, and this is by Alana Cavallia and Arjuna Vander, and I can't say his last name. Kuj, I think. Kuij, maybe. So, Myths of the Asanas, the stories at the heart of the yoga tradition. This is kind of a neat book because it goes through each one of the poses. And I'm going to see if I can just see Hanumanasana real quick here. Of course, I'm not. Yes, there he is. So, it goes through each pose and it tells you the stories and poses related to the poses. So it's a great resource. I really like it. Of course, I'm using more than just this book, but it is one of the books that I'm using for this series on yoga stories. Okay, so let's begin today. What you're going to need are props today. Props. If you have yoga blocks, you can get those. Ooh, we're going to need yoga straps. I'm going to have to get those. I forgot my yoga strap. And if you have a bolster is going to come in handy too. So you can use whatever version of these things that you have available to you in your own practice today. We're going to start with mudra. We're going to start sitting. And so grab whatever props you need to support yourself in sitting, maybe a block, whatever is going to help you lengthen up through your spine and allow your knees to be level with your hips. We're going to begin with the Anjali mudra as a way of centering ourselves and introducing ourselves to Hanuman. So this Anjali mudra was used by Hanuman's mother. Her name was Anjali. And she was a beautiful woman who wanted to become a mother. And so she sat and prayed every day with the Anjali mudra, praying to the gods to make her a mother. And so one day, Vayu, the god of the wind, became very inspired by her prayer and by her beauty and decided to help her out and to help her become a mother. So he did as the wind does, and he gusted up some wind, and he placed in her hands 2 grains of rice. And so And Jana, not knowing to not question the gifts that she had been given, looked at these grains of rice in her hand and knew that they were a gift from the gods, and placed them in her mouth and swallowed them, and she thus became pregnant with Hanuman and had her baby. So I want you to consider what it is that you would like to cultivate in your practice today as you sit here. Hanuman is a symbol of physical strength, perseverance, and devotion, and he teaches us that about our unlimited power, that unlimited power that lies unused within each one of us. And so Hanuman teaches us to physically shed our fears and move into a state of fearlessness. Hanuman is a monkey deity renowned for his courage, his power, his faithful, selfless service. And as we'll see from the stories a little bit later, Hanuman was quite a mischievous troublemaker. So he was quite naughty, and he abused his powers as a child. And so all the gods became very cross with him, and they decided that they would remove his knowledge of his powers so that he wouldn't cause so much trouble. And so just like Hanuman, we forget our own power, we forget our own faith, our own divinity. And just like Hanuman does, as we'll see in these stories today, we can turn to our faith so that we will know what we have to do. So often we can shrink before the most impossible task, and we forget that there is part of us that is divine and can accomplish the impossible. And with faith and hope, we can move forward with confidence. So as you reflect on the essence of Hanuman, consider what it is you'd like to cultivate in your practice today. Perhaps you've forgotten your own strength, your own divinity, your own courage, your own devotion. And perhaps in your practice today, you can cultivate the energy of Hanuman to release those fears and doubts and to be able to remember your true self. But consider what it is that you are creating in your own life right now. And ask yourself how your practice is going to allow you to get closer to that. And that can be your sankalpa, your intention for your practice. So we're going to transition to lying down on your back now. And you can lie down with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. Okay. So we're going to work with half reclined hero's pose. As we'll see, Hanuman becomes quite a hero through his life and through his stories. Let's just warm up our hip joints by swaying your knees from side to side. And so we're going to work with half reclined hero's pose. Now this is a pose where you need to be very cognizant and aware of your knees. Okay? You want to feel this stretch in the belly of your muscle and nowhere in your knee joint. So you're going to be very cautious of that and move forward with the curiosity of Hanuman. So you'll bring your legs back center. You're going to bring your right foot up by the side of your body. Internally rotate your right leg so that your knee moves towards the ground. So you should feel this stretch along the top of your right thigh and not in your knee joint. What you can do is back off a bit if you do. This is a pose where it's really good to fill the space so that your knee's not hanging in midair. So you can set up the block so that it creates some grounding for you here. And then you're going to focus in on your breath and be aware of the sensation in your body. So more than pressing your knee towards the ground, you're working at lengthening your leg long out of your pelvis. And then you can slowly release your leg. Bring it back center, and we'll do this on the other side as well. So internally rotate your leg and slowly bend your knee toward the ground. You want to feel this in the belly of your muscle. Do you feel the space with cushions or bolsters or blankets? Just so your knee's not dangling in midair. So this side, I do tend to feel it in my knee a bit, and I'm just going to make that pressure a little bit less, you can see by moving my block up towards me a little bit. That really did help to move it out of my knee joint. Then you're going to very slowly and carefully bring your leg out of that pose. Great. So here's where you're going to need a strap. So go ahead and get your strap. So take the strap and place it around your right foot and lengthen up through your right leg. Draw your right leg in. You want to be opening up all the muscles on the back of your leg. And simultaneously ground down through the back of your pelvis. And you can either have your left knee bent or you can straighten it up. So as you experience this posture, ask yourself, to what extent do you forget your divinity, your courage, your strength, your powers in day-to-day life? And then slowly release your right leg. Okay. And draw your left leg in. Ooh. Okay. And as you settle into the other side, ask yourself what it would be like to remember your courage and your strength, your divinity, your powers. What would be possible then? Okay, and then release your left leg down. And from here you can roll over onto your stomach. Okay, so this is a pose we haven't done before on Namaste Yoga, and I'm not the poster child for this pose, so I'm going to explain this pose the best that I can, and then we're going to do our best together, okay? There's lots of sort of modifications along the way, and then I'll try to explain the full version of the pose. So you can start by lying on your belly and just wiggle your hips from side to side to release your low back. You can even tuck your toes under to open up the fronts of your hips. And then press the front of your pelvis into the ground. And you'll walk your elbows back to underneath your shoulders so that you're in Sphinx pose. Okay. So from Sphinx pose, you're going to bring your right arm across so that it's horizontal in front of your body. Okay, and you could always go lower on this too. And then you're going to bend your left knee. Now here you can use a strap and reach around and hook up the strap to your left foot. Here's the deal. What you're going to try to do is bring your left foot so that the inside of your left heel comes towards the outside of your left hip. And you're going to do this. The ideal hand position is going to be elbow back and fingers forward, okay, on your foot like that. So that doesn't happen in my body, so I'll show you what I can do in my body, and you can do the best that you can in your body. So I'm going to bring that foot up towards the outside of my hip and try to swing my fingers around forward. That sort of is the best I can do. Okay. And you can release that. Whew, that's intense. Let's try that on the other side. One thing you want to be cautious of too is that your knee doesn't splay out to the side like this. So I was kind of seeing lots of that kind of thing in class. You want to keep it right in line with your leg. So let's do the other side. Just wiggle your hips from side to side first. And then you can walk your elbows back to underneath your shoulders again. Bring your left arm across. Keep tucking your tail under so your low back stays long. You're going to bend your right knee. Reach around. Hold on to your right foot. And draw the inside of your right heel towards the outside of your right hip. And it's going to be different on the other side too. Fingertips are supposed to point forward on your toes, and your elbow is supposed to be up and back. Okay. And then you can release that pose from your body. You're going to push up and back into child's pose to stretch out your low back, because that's definitely a back bend. And if child's pose isn't accessible for you in your knees, you can lie on your back and hug your knees into your chest. So you can reflect on the curiosity of Hanumanasana from your experience of that posture. What was it like to be curious about a new posture? To bring curiosity to the new experience there. Okay, and then you can roll up to kneeling and get your blocks. So you're going to come up onto all fours and place your foot between the two blocks. So you've got a block on either side of your feet. Curl your right toes under. Inhale here. Exhale and straighten out through both legs. So you're folding forward over your straight legs. This should be a really big opening for the front of your hamstring at the back of your legs. Maybe even down through your calves. So if this is challenging, you can decrease the space between your two legs. And if you wanted a little bit more, you can increase your space between your two legs. Okay, and then you can bend your legs, and let's switch sides so that your right foot comes in front. So this side is going to be different, so be open to being curious about how it's different on this side. You can tuck your left toes under and straighten out through both legs. So we'll kind of let go of any expectations that this side would be the same as the other side. And instead, just experience what's happening now in this pose. And then you can step your back leg in and make your way up to standing. Stand at the front of your mat with your hands in the Anjali mudra. We're going to do some sun salutations, but first I'm going to tell you a bit of Hanuman's story, and that will explain why we're going to do a few rounds of sun salutation. So when Hanuman was born, he was a very curious and mischievous and hungry little baby, and one day he was lying in his crib and he saw the sun in the sky and he mistook it for a mango. And so you have to remember that Vayu is his father, the god of the wind, and so Hanuman was the demigod. He has all these powers that are available to him. So when he saw the sun and mistook it for a mango, he flew up into the sky so that he could eat the mango, because mangoes were his favorite fruit. Well, the sun saw this little monkey flying at him and thought, what the heck is going on? Why is this little Hanuman hurling himself at me? And so the sun shot a lightning bolt at Hanuman, and it killed Hanuman instantly. He fell to the ground dead. Well, Vayu, his father, the god of wind, was just devastated, and he gasped. And when he drew in that breath, he took all the breath in the world. And so everybody was going to die because there was no breath left in the world. And so all the gods got together and they said, what are we going to do? And Surya, the lord of the sun, said, we can't have this crazy Hanuman running around and causing all this trouble. And the god of wind, Vayu, his father, says, he was devastated. He wanted his son to come back to life. And so the gods decided that they would give Hanuman his life back, but that they would have him forget his powers so that he couldn't cause any more trouble. And so he was given a new beginning, and he went to live with the monkeys in the forest. And that is the story of why we're going to do sun salutation right now. So standing at the front of your mat, so we can do a salute to the sun or a salute to the mango. I love mangoes as much as I love the sun, I think. So I can kind of understand Hanuman. We're going to inhale, reach up. Exhale, hinge forward at your hips. Inhale, step your right foot back. Left foot steps back. Option to lower your knees as you exhale and lower down. Tuck your tail under. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, come into downward facing dog. Inhale, walk your right foot back. Exhale, walk your left foot forward. Inhale, flat back to come up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, hinge forward from your hips. Inhale, step your left foot back. Right foot steps back. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, walk your left foot in. Exhale, walk your right foot in. Inhale, flat back to come up. Exhale, hands to your heart. So as you do these sun salutations, you can imagine Hanuman flying through the sky to the sun, which he mistook as a mango. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, flat back hinge, come forward. Inhale, right foot back. Left foot steps back. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right foot in. Exhale, left foot in. Inhale, flat back to come up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, flat back. Inhale, step your left foot back. Step your right foot back. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, bring your left foot in. Exhale, bring your right foot in. Inhale, flat back to come up. And exhale, hands to your heart. So we're going to come forward and we're going to work with Hanuman a little bit more. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, you'll fold forward. And this time I want you to step your right foot back. Lower your right knee to the ground so that you're in lunge pose. And let's just spend a little time. Inhale, rock back. And exhale and rock forward so that you're opening up your hamstrings in the front of your hip. So when Hanuman was in the forest, he met Ram, Lord Rama. And there was an instant connection between the two. And so Hanuman became a devotee to Rama. Now Rama had a beautiful wife named Sita. And the evil demon Ravana was jealous of Rama and Sita and their love and of Rama's beautiful wife Sita. And so he kidnapped her. Ravana kidnapped Sita, the beautiful wife of Rama, and took her to the deserted island of Lanka, where his kingdom was. So, of course, Rama was devastated. And come forward and hold the forward position. But he was fighting this battle, he was the head of his army in this battle with Ravana, and he couldn't leave all his soldiers in battle. And so he sent Hanuman to go find his wife, Sita. Okay, so step your left foot back and switch sides so that you're walking your right foot forward. And let's do that, rocking back and forth. So Hanuman, of course, was, full of doubt, full of uncertainty. He thought he had no idea how this little monkey, remember he had forgotten all his powers, was going to find Sita for his beloved Rama. And so the story goes that he had no idea how he was going to get to this island of Lanka, and so he knelt down by the water's edge and he began to pray. And so this pose, this lunge pose, is supposed to be Hanuman praying for faith that he can carry out the request of his beloved Rama. So Hanuman knelt down to pray that the impossible would become possible, that he would find the strength and the courage and the devotion to be able to find Sita for Rama. And when he sat down and knelt in prayer and gathered up his courage and his strength, he took off into the air and he flew in the air across to the island of Lanka. So he still had his powers to fly, he had just forgotten about them. So he soared to great heights to the island of Lanka. So once he was on the island of Lanka, he shape-shifted into a cat so he wouldn't be recognized as Rama's devotee. And so bring your hands back underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips, and exhale, round up through your back. And inhale, arch through your back. And so sometimes in our lives we're required to shift and change, to find new solutions and new ways around old problems. And so as a cat, Hanuman was able to be on the island of Lanka, and he was able to gather intelligence, gather information about Sita's whereabouts. And then eventually he was able to bring Sita back to Rama. Okay, walk your hands back to your knees and step your left leg forward again. We're going to come into lunge pose again. This time you're going to sink down through your front left knee. And inhale, reach your arms up. So another well-known story of Hanuman, and it's actually the story that's depicted in the picture that we're using today, is the story of Hanuman bringing the Himalayan mountains. You can see how he's got the mountain in his hands. And so what happened is, in battle, Ram was badly injured one time. And his doctor said the only thing that will cure him is this herb that you can find in the Himalayan mountains. And so, of course, Hanuman took off to go find that herb, that medicinal herb, to save Ram's life. Okay, and then lower your arms down. Let's switch sides. Bring your right leg through. I'm just going to double up my mat here a little bit so there's more padding underneath my knees. You could do the same too. Sink down through your front right foot, come upright, and lift your arms. So Hanuman took off to the Himalayan mountains, and when he got there, he wanted to be really sure that he got the right herb. And so because he wasn't quite sure which one was the right one, he brought the entire mountain back to Ram, and he saved his life. Okay, and then lower your arms down, uncurl your mat, come back onto all fours, and then we'll step back into downward facing dog. Lift your hips up towards the ceiling, lengthen through your spine, open up through the backs of your legs. And walk your feet into your hands. And come back up to standing. So at the end of this battle, when Sita was back to Ram and Ram was back to health, Ram held this huge feast and this big party to celebrate their victory and to thank everybody who had helped him. And so he gave all the animals in the animal kingdom who helped him gifts, and he gave many gifts, and everybody enjoyed in the celebration. And then it came time to give Hanuman his gift. And so Ram said, "I've saved you for last. I have the most special gift for you." And he took a bracelet that he had worn through this whole ordeal from his wrist and gave it to Hanuman. And Hanuman received the bracelet, and everybody else kind of gasped because it was the best gift. It was worth a lot of money. There were jewels all in this bracelet, and with this bracelet he would be able to acquire the greatest kingdom and have anything he wanted basically now with this bracelet. But everybody was kind of surprised because Hanuman was just looking at it with his curiosity. So he held this bracelet in his hand and he kind of looked at it from every angle. He started to play around with it and squeeze it until some of the jewels started coming out. And then he would look at each one of the jewels and really look at it, clearly not seeing the value in this bracelet. He even put some of the jewels in his mouth and chewed on them until they broke and spit them out and looked at them again to see if there was anything inside them. And so all his friends around were completely aghast. They couldn't figure out what was up with Hanuman, why he could be so rude to Ram and to not accept this gift graciously, but to basically chew it up and spit it out. And so they're saying, "Hanuman, what's wrong with you? You've got the best gift. You've got the most precious thing that Ram could have given you." And Hanuman basically said, "Well, it doesn't have Ram's name on it. That the most precious thing to me is Ram." And so everybody's thinking, what the heck? Everybody's pretty perplexed. And so Hanuman tore open his heart, and he actually pulled his flesh right back so that you could see his heart. And there you could see his heart, and on his heart was the name Ram. And his heart was beating Rama, 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 Rama. So that, his love and devotion for Ram was even more important than this bracelet. So of course we're going to do a back bend. A really simple back bend in honor of that. So interlace your fingers behind your back. Roll your shoulders back and down. Tuck your tail under. Lift your arms and reach your chest up towards the ceiling. Then you can release your chest. And you're going to need a wall. You could probably do this without a wall, but you're going to need a wall. I'm assuming if you've been doing Namaste yoga for a while, you've cleared a wall, because I really like working with walls. And you guys know how much I like you to have a clear wall to work with. So what we're going to do, let's kind of clear some space so we can bring your mats perpendicular to the wall. And you're going to come onto all fours so that you can take a really short downward facing dog. And then from this position, you'll take your, let's say, your right leg up the wall and place the roof of your foot on the wall. Okay, so you might stay here. You might even need to move your hands away a little bit more to make it a little easier. But now what you can do is start to walk your hands back towards your feet to find the just right edge that you want to stay with today. So you can imagine that you're Hanumanasana flying through the air right now. Okay, and then you can walk your hands forward. Come down for a little rest. Whew. And then let's do that on the other side. So Hanumanasana, the pose Hanumanasana, if you haven't kind of figured this out now, is splits. Okay, so what we're doing right now is splits up the wall. Okay, some version of that. So come back to all fours. Tuck your toes under, lift your hips up towards the ceiling. And this time you'll take your left leg up the wall and walk your right hands back. Walk your hands back. Okay, and then you can slowly lower yourself down. Okay, so the rest of our class is going to be sitting, so you can come to a seated position. Come to a kneeling position. We're going to do one more lunge pose. If you come up on your knees, walk your right knee through, come into lunge pose again, and then sink down through your front right foot to come upright. We're going to twist here, so you can either take your left hand to the outside of your right knee and rotate that way, or you can take your left elbow and bring your palms together at your heart. So I think sometimes in our Western culture, this kind of devotee, this idea of devotion to one individual can seem really strange in our culture. But it's definitely not that way in Indian culture. Definitely students attach themselves to a guru in a way that we really just don't do in North America. But you can probably think of some examples of devotion that you do have in your life. Okay, come back center and switch sides. I've been really thinking about this and what example that I could give you today of devotion in our culture. And I'm sure there's many, and I would love for you to chime in on this. But the one that keeps coming to me is the devotion we have to our pets in this culture. I mean, we treat them like royalty. Also, the devotion we have to our children, too, I think is pretty strong in our culture. Okay, sink to your front left foot. Lift yourself upright. right hand to the outside of your left knee. You can rotate like this, or you can come to your elbow. And then come back center, and we're going to sit down. You can sit with your legs straight out in front of you. Okay, so if when you sit your pelvis is tipping, rolling backwards like this, then you need to elevate your pelvis a bit. So you can sit up on blocks or a cushion, but you want your pelvis to be able to rotate forward. So mine's a bit curled under, so I'm going to get a pillow. Thank you. And I'm going to sit up on it. Hopefully this will work. It's a little squishy, this pillow. Just enough to give me a little bit of tip forward. So you can see what a big difference that makes, and that's not even a very good lift. So what you're going to do is slide your right leg in, cross your right leg over your left leg, all the way over for half cow's face. Lengthen up through your spine and fold forward over your left leg. Spine long, and reach your heart forward, just like Hanuman's heart. And then you can switch sides, so your right leg is extended out and cross your left leg all the way over. Lengthen up through your spine. Inhale, exhale, hinge forward from your hips, reach your heart forward. Okay, and then come forward and up again. You can release your legs and shake them out. Okay, so now we are going to try the splits. And so, you can imagine how Hanuman might have felt, a very little bit of what he might have felt, because that might seem like an impossible task. But we're going to gather up our courage, remember our courage, our strength, and our power. And you're going to use props, and you're going to do this in whatever way works best for you, but you're going to try. You're going to try, and you're going to also be very careful in your own body. You're not going to hurt yourself. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I'm folding up my mat because I have one of these amazing jade mats, and they're super sticky, and you need to be able to slide your foot forward. So I need to have my foot on the floor so it can slide. You are going to need your blocks or your bolster, or maybe both. And I'll show you how you can work with this. If you have your blocks, you're going to place your hands on them either side of you. And you'll come into lunge pose. And you'll lean into it forward. And then you're going to slide. Now my foot's even sticking on the floor. You're going to slide your left leg forward. There we go. So that you're in your version of the splits, okay? You can use the blocks to lift you up. Okay, so you can really carefully come out of this side. And let me show you how you can do it with the bolster on the other side. So you basically put the bolster between your legs, and you rest on the bolster. And this side, this is a little much for me, so I'm actually going to lift myself up off it. But if you have some blankets, you can stack. You can make the bolster higher. And if you're feeling really strong and able, you can take your arms straight up overhead like Hanuman would have when he was flying through the air. And I need my hands to support me right now. Okay, so very carefully, you want to come out of the pose. And then because Hanumanasana is a back bend technically, you're going to do child's pose or line your back with your knees to your chest. Okay, so we have run out of time here at Namaste Yoga. Take some time to rest back in Shavasana. You can finish your practice with a much needed relaxation after that. You may even want to sit and reflect on Hanumanasana, on his qualities of courage, strength, and devotion. And as you do, ask yourself what it is that you'll take away from this class. What of your powers are you going to remember? What part of your true self have you forgotten? And how will you carry that with you out into your life? Namaste.